In a quiet neighborhood in Colorado, the Carter family seemed like the perfect example of a happy life. Their house, with its neat lawn and warm lights shining through the windows, felt welcoming to everyone who passed by. Daniel Carter, a successful businessman, was charming and well-liked by everyone. He had a loving wife, Laura, and two wonderful kids. On weekends, neighbors would often see them laughing together on their porch, looking like the ideal family. But behind the smiles and happy moments, there were secrets no one could have imagined. Neighbors often saw Daniel and Laura sitting together on their porch in the evenings, a picture of happiness that seemed straight out of a storybook. Daniel would lean back in his chair, his arm draped casually over Laura's shoulder, while she sipped her tea and smiled at his jokes. Their laughter would carry across the neatly trimmed lawns of their suburban street, creating the image of a couple deeply in love. Their children, Emily and Ben, would sometimes join them, running up with stories from their day at school or proudly showing off a new drawing or toy. Laura would laugh warmly, pulling them close, while Daniel would ruffle their hair with a grin. It was a scene so genuine that no one ever questioned it. The Carters' porch wasn't just a place where they spent time. It was a stage where their perfect family life was on full display. The light spilling out from their living room windows added a cozy glow, while flower pots lined the railing, filled with bright blooms that Laura tended to with care. For the neighbors, this was the Carter family. Warm, happy, and seemingly without a care in the world. But behind those smiles and laughter, a darker reality was brewing, one that no one in the neighborhood could have imagined. And soon, their perfect life would fall apart in the most shocking way. Daniel Carter was the kind of man people admired. He started as a small-town mechanic and worked his way up to owning a successful automotive business. His story was one of hard work and determination. His wife, Laura, stood by him through every challenge, often putting aside her own dreams to support his. Together, they built a life that looked perfect from the outside. Laura was the quiet strength behind Daniel's success. When they first got married, she had her own dreams, becoming a teacher, traveling to new places, and building a life full of adventure. But as Daniel's career started to take off, she chose to focus on supporting him and their family. In the early days of his business, Laura worked hard behind the scenes. She helped with bookkeeping late into the night while also taking care of their kids. She put aside her plans to go back to school, making sure the household ran smoothly so Daniel could focus on his goals. During tough times, when money was tight and Daniel was stressed, Laura stayed by his side. Laura was the quiet strength behind Daniel's success. When they first got married, she had her own dreams, becoming a teacher, traveling to new places, and building a life full of adventure. But as Daniel's career started to take off, she chose to focus on supporting him and their family. In the early days of his business, Laura worked hard behind the scenes. She helped with bookkeeping late into the night while also taking care of their kids. She put aside her plans to go back to school, making sure the household ran smoothly so Daniel could focus on his goals. During tough times, when money was tight and Daniel was stressed, Laura stayed by his side. She encouraged him when he felt like giving up and celebrated every small victory with him. She reminded him of how far they had come and gave him the confidence to keep going. But while Daniel chased his dreams, Laura's own dreams slowly faded. She rarely complained, believing her sacrifices were worth it for the good of their family. Still, there were moments when she wondered if she had given up too much or if Daniel truly appreciated all she had done. Laura was heartbroken by Daniel's betrayal. She spent long nights sitting alone in their living room, her mind racing with questions and anger. She planned to confront him, to demand the truth. But before she could, Jessica disappeared. Daniel Carter met Jessica during one of his business trips. Jessica was a smart and hard-working woman in her late 20s, working at a marketing firm that partnered with Daniel's automotive company. At first, their relationship was professional, but Daniel's charm soon broke the ice. Jessica admired his confidence and success, while Daniel was drawn to her energy and independence. Their relationship started as something casual. Daniel told Jessica he was stuck in an unhappy marriage, painting himself as a man who needed an escape. Jessica believed him, thinking she could be his chance at happiness. For Daniel, however, Their affair was a way to boost his ego while keeping his family life intact. As they spent more time together, Jessica started to want more. She dreamed of a life where Daniel would leave his wife and be with her. But Daniel always had excuses. He promised her it would happen, but he claimed he couldn't leave his family just yet, blaming his responsibilities or saying his wife, Laura, wouldn't handle it well. Over time, Jessica grew frustrated and tired of waiting. She felt used and began pressuring Daniel for answers. Finally, she gave him an ultimatum. Leave his wife or she would tell Laura everything. Daniel was terrified. He had worked hard to build a perfect image as a loving husband, a great father, and a successful businessman. He couldn't afford for his double life to be exposed. To calm Jessica, he promised her they would figure things out and invited her to a weekend getaway at a remote cabin to talk things through. The news of Jessica's disappearance shocked everyone. When the police started investigating, all the clues seemed to point to Daniel. Slowly, the perfect image he had created for himself began to fall apart. Detectives found out that Jessica had threatened to tell Laura about their relationship if Daniel didn't leave his wife. Witnesses reported seeing Jessica get into Daniel's car one evening, and that was the last time anyone saw her alive. Desperate to keep his secret life hidden, Daniel came up with a plan. He convinced Jessica to go on a trip with him to a remote cabin in the woods. The cabin, which was once a peaceful getaway surrounded by tall trees, became the place where everything changed. When the sun went down and the forest grew dark and quiet, Daniel made his move. He ended Jessica's life and buried her in a shallow grave nearby. Daniel was arrested and charged with Jessica's murder, and the trial became the talk of the nation. Prosecutors described him as a man so trapped in his own lies that he was willing to do anything, even kill, to keep his secrets hidden. They painted him as someone who cared more about protecting his reputation than the lives. Laura, still struggling with the betrayal, was called to testify. When she walked into the courtroom, she looked exhausted and broken, her face pale and her movements slow. On the stand, her voice wavered as she talked about the pain Daniel had caused her and their family. She shared how she had spent countless sleepless nights, haunted by the discovery of his secrets. Her heartbreak was clear as she spoke about realizing that the man she had loved and trusted was living a double life. She described how Daniel had lied to her over and over, making her doubt herself whenever she felt something was wrong. Laura explained the little things she had noticed but ignored: his sudden absences, the guarded phone calls, and how he had grown distant. Looking back, those small moments were signs of something much darker. Her words showed how much his actions had torn apart their family and left her questioning everything about their life together. As Laura stepped down from the stand, the courtroom was silent. Her testimony wasn't just about exposing Daniel's lies. It showed the deep emotional damage he had caused and how his choices had shattered the lives of everyone around him. Daniel Carter was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the chance for parole. While Jessica's family found some peace knowing justice had been served, the pain of losing her would never go away. For Laura, the conviction brought mixed emotions. Although she felt that justice had been done, the betrayal by the man she had loved still hurt deeply. In the months after the trial, Laura decided to leave their old life behind. She moved with her children to a new town, hoping for a fresh start away from the memories of what Daniel had done. Even as she talked about moving forward, there was still a sense of sadness in her words. She knew that some wounds never fully heal. The past would always be a part of them, but in the smiles of her children and the moments of peace they found, there was also hope for a better tomorrow.